Well, friends, today's topic for discussion is fundamental rights. We know Part 3 of Indian Constitution contains a long list of fundamental rights. This part is generally known as Magna-Carta of Indian Constitution. You might have heard the term Magna-Carta. Magna-Carta means big charter. Magna means big and Carta means charter. It is the first written statement of rights guaranteed to the people. This right was given to the people of Britain by the then King George I in the year 1250. And after a long period of time, when the Constitution of India was being framed, the makers of the Constitution were very particular to see that we guarantee certain rights to the people, certain basic rights to the people. Fundamental rights being those rights without which man cannot develop his personality to the maximum extent possible. So when the Constitution was being prepared, most of the members decided to incorporate a list of duties in the Constitution, and this idea we have taken from the American Constitution. The essence, this idea of having a long list of fundamental rights, that is taken from America, and we have incorporated this in the Indian Constitution. And these fundamental rights have some special characteristics. There are some certain features for fundamental rights. The first and foremost feature of fundamental rights is it is justiciable. Justiciable means enforceable by a court of law. So if any of our fundamental right is violated, we can go to the court, and the court will see that the fundamental right is enforced. And fundamental rights have been given so much importance by the constitution makers. Therefore, they provided that if your right is violated, you may either go to the High Court or you can even approach the Supreme Court of India. So you can go to High Court under Article 226, or you may go to the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Indian Constitution. So fundamental rights are given supremacy or superiority or greater sanctity compared to other legal rights. That is one of the important features of fundamental rights. Second feature is no fundamental right is absolute. Every fundamental right is qualified, which means you cannot enjoy 10% of a right. Every fundamental right is subject to reasonable restriction. There can be restriction, but only condition is that the restriction should be reasonable. Who will decide whether the restriction is reasonable or not? That will be decided by the court. Either the High Court or Supreme Court can decide whether the restriction is reasonable or not. For example, a civil service examination. UPSC invites application for civil service examination, and UPSC in the notification says only males need apply, females need not apply. That is against right to equality. Men and women should be given equal weightage, no discrimination. Suppose UPSC makes such a notification, this can be challenged in the court, and court will say no, there cannot be such restriction. Women can also apply for this. So no fundamental right is absolute. Nobody can enjoy 10% fundamental right. You may have freedom of speech and expression, but that is subject to a lot of restrictions. So that is the second feature, no fundamental right is absolute. Third feature is some fundamental rights are given only to citizens and some fundamental rights are given to everybody living in India. You can see Article 12 to 35 deal with fundamental rights. Out of the fundamental rights, some articles clearly say these rights can be enjoyed only by the citizens. For example, Article 15, Article 16, Article 19, Article 29 and 30, they are given only to citizens. Other fundamental rights can be enjoyed by everybody living in India. For example, right to public employment is a right guaranteed only to citizens. Freedom of speech and expression is guaranteed only to citizens. But some rights are given to everybody living in India. Freedom of religion. Everyone living in India can enjoy this freedom. Right against exploitation. Everybody living in India can enjoy this. So remember that there is a classification. Some rights are exclusively given to citizens and some are given to everybody living in India. Next, another important feature is some fundamental rights can be suspended during the period of national emergency. We know the President has the power to declare national emergency under Article 352. When there is a proclamation of national emergency in operation, the President can suspend most of the fundamental rights. Formally, every fundamental right could be suspended by the President. But in 78, an amendment has been made to the Constitution, 44th Amendment, and by this amendment it is provided that even if there is a national emergency, Articles 20 and 21 cannot be suspended. These rights will remain intact and these rights will be well protected. That is another feature of fundamental right. Next important feature is Supreme Court has a very important power. Supreme Court has a power to increase or extend the fundamental rights. For example, the Constitution may give you a small right, but this right can be expanded by different orders of the Supreme Court. For example, a very important fundamental right guaranteed by Indian Constitution is Article 21. Article 21 is a very short article that gives you right to life and liberty. Every Indian citizen is given right to life and liberty by this small article. But this right has been expanded widely by the orders of Supreme Court. So Supreme Court says, right to life does not mean animal-like existence. You have a right to pure air, pure water, well-protected environment. You have a right to travel abroad. You have a right to speedy disposal of cases. All these rights have been guaranteed to by the court, expanding various rights. Then another important feature of fundamental right is most of the rights may be self-executory, but some rights require laws. For example, there is an Article 17, and Article 17 says untouchability is abolished and its practice in any form is forbidden. But you see, with this article alone, nothing can be done. So Parliament has passed a very important law. In 1955, it was known as Untouchability Offences Act, and in 1976, it has been revised and it has given a new name, Protected Civil Rights Act. So with this act, this Article 17 can be very effectively implemented. So when we study fundamental rights, you can see lot of features are there and a lot of characteristics are there. These rights are all well protected by the Constitution.